Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Welcome to Cafe Savage. The phone number here is 855-407-282. As you can hear, my voice is a little shot. I have a strep throat. Streptococcal bacteria have invaded my throat. I have a head cold. My feet hurt. My arms hurt. In other words, I have influenza. Now, a sane man would have called for a fill-in host. But I am so committed to my audience and my show that although I need a doctor, I am the only doctor I trust in situations such as this. So I am saturated with various and sundry vitamins and herbs and Thai food. Let's see what else. I'll tell you a little later. And I feel well enough to do the show. Now, it's going to be a little subdued. I warn you. So come on in to Cafe Savage, have a biscotti, a latte, whatever they sell in cafes. And we could talk about the news, views, and reviews of the day because, believe me, the character in the White House, the evil man in the White House, the enemy of America in the White House is working around the clock to destroy us. That's why I'm on the air today. You know what he's doing now? Palmyra in Syria just fell to the Islamo-fascists. They now control half of Syria because he undermined Assad. They're taking over the whole Middle East. This lying POS in the White House has the nerve to say it's not a setback. Not at all. They're rampaging through the world. Now it gets even better. He wants to bring in thousands of Muslims from Burma. Muslims who the Burmese want to kick out because they're troublemakers. You heard me. Write it down and send it to George Soros personally. Federal Express. Listen to what I just said to you. Burma is a Muslim nation, 90% Muslim. They have Buddhist. Burma is 90% Buddhist nation. They have a Muslim minority. The Muslim minority has been causing problems in Burma for 1,000 years. They are now wanting to resettle the so-called Rohingya. You've got to listen to what Obama is doing, and there's only one reason he's doing it. He is overwhelming the nation with Muslim immigrants to weaken the Christian majority. These Rohingya cannot work. They have multiple wives. They're unemployable. They'll be on welfare. They will wreck our schools. Why the hell is he allowed to do it? Listen to this idiot, Marie Barf.
I think the Malaysians and the Indonesians have requested some help resettling people. We're taking a careful look at the proposal. We're prepared to take a leading role in any UNHCR organized multi-country effort to resettle the most vulnerable refugees. I'd note that more than 1,000 Rohingya have already been resettled.
Turn it off. I can't take this idiot. If there were war crime trials, she'd be up on the docket along with Obama for what they're doing to this country. This is the last days of the United States playing out right in front of our eyes. Why would you bring in Muslims from Burma? Why would you bring in Muslims who are uneducated, can't work, multiple wives, unemployable? They're going to go on welfare. They're going to require schools and police and doctor care. Why would you bring them in unless you wanted to destroy the country? Answer, because he wants to destroy the country, along with the vermin in the ACLU. Are you ready for this one? The ACLU in El Paso, Texas, has renamed illegal immigrants international commuters. I'll repeat that again because nobody can believe this. On May 13th, dozens of members of the ACLU, the Anti-Christian Liberties Union, on the U.S. side of the Santa Fe Street border bridge in El Paso, were handing out pamphlets to illegal aliens who they refer to as international commuters from Mexico. Obama has destroyed America. He is going to destroy it so it's unrecognizable unless he is stopped. He is a thug. Obama is a criminal thug. Do you understand this? He is the thug. Who gives him the authority to do this to this country? Who? The invisible Republican Party and their mouthpieces in the media who keep talking about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, George Washington and Ronald Reagan as though they're the Holy Grail. I don't need George Washington or Ronald Reagan to save me. Ronald Reagan opened the borders to Mexico, by the way, the great savior of the conservatives. Ronald Reagan granted amnesty to the illegals from Mexico. Never forget that. So don't go for that malarkey about how great Reagan was. But that's a subject for another day. You know, last night, after doing my show for 3 hours. I'm not complaining. I love it. This is the best 3 hours of the day. I took a rest, had dinner, blah, blah, blah. I did a show at night, the Jim Bohannon show. He has a national show with 250 stations. I was on Jim's show with the other book. There are only two national hosts who've had me on their show, Laura Ingraham and Jim Bohannon. The rest are part and parcel of the exact liberal cabal that hates real conservatives, hates Michael Savage in particular. And I've got to segue into something that's very important. As you well know, we live or die by ratings in radio. We also live or die by bestseller lists in the publishing world. Well, we got the list of the New York Times list that came out last night for the first week of sales of Countdown to Mecca. And we were pretty sure it was going to make the top 15, or at least the top 20. Guess what happened? I have the hard numbers here from Bookscan. Anyone can verify this. My headline is this: New York Times buries Savage's Countdown to Mecca from bestseller list. In an astonishing breach of trust, the venerable New York Times refused to list Savage's novel, Countdown to Mecca, in the top 15 bestsellers, even though Savage's book outsold 4 books the liberal Times pushed ahead of his. Numbers don't lie. I knew they were liars. Now I know they're thieves at the New York Times. If they can't even be counted upon to represent their bestseller list without bias, tell me what else you can count on the New York Times for doing. The hard numbers are this. My book sold 5,060 copies, which is not a big number. Nevertheless, there are books with 4,325. There are books with 2,025. There are books with 2,800. A book with 3,300 sales that have been listed in the top 20, and mine is excluded, kicked off the list. Why is that? There's only one answer. Because they hate my guts. Because the rats who work for Adolf Sulzberger's grandson, whatever his name is, Pinchy Sulzberger, are not to be trusted on any account. Am I bitter? I'm not bitter. It wouldn't change my life one way or the other. But it's another example of why you can't trust the New York Times. No, it's not all the news that's fit to print. It's all the liberal lies fit to print. That's topic number 2. As Floridians are being displaced, Rubio demands more foreign workers. I'm not making this up. I told you I didn't like him. I knew he was a slime ball. I told you Rubio was a slimy creature from the swamps. This slimy liar, Rubio, is pushing a bill that would triple the number of guest workers businesses could hire every year. After hundreds of workers in his state were fired and literally replaced by foreign guest workers. Now, it's interesting. You can't put 2 and 2 together as quickly as I. Who is it who backed Rubio last week? Raise your hands if you remember. It was a Silicon Valley trillionaire named Larry Ellison. And no one understood why Larry Ellison backed Rubio. Now you understand why Larry Ellison backed Rubio. He owns Oracle, doesn't he? What does Oracle want? Cheaper costs. How do you get cheaper costs? You fire American IT workers and you hire illegal aliens. So who does he go to? He goes to the pimp, Rubio. Did I tell you that they're nothing but front men for the power structure? Do you have any faith in Rubio or any one of the rest of them? No. Did you hear what happened in Disney, at Disney? Did you hear what happened in Southern California Edison? They fired hundreds of American tech workers, and Disney, that rat, Michael Eisner, that double-talking anti-American slimeball, Disney's company forced American technical workers to train their foreign replacements who were flown in specifically to steal their jobs. That's what Michael Eisner did at Disney. That's what Rubio wants done in Florida. That's the Republican Party in the state of the world in which we live. So I've introduced a number of topics. The phone number here is 855-407-282. I can review the topics. I don't even remember all of them. But the numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie, and although Countdown to Mecca sold 5,060 in hardcover and about 2,500 in iBooks, they did not list it in the top 20. And what's shocking about this is that number 16 sold 4,300. Number 17 sold 2,000. Number 19 sold 2,800. Number 20 sold 3,300. Countdown to Mecca sold 5,060. The vermin at the New York Times refused to list it. They hate me. They hate my message. They hate Jack Hatfield. They are like the Soviets who want to disappear any person who disagrees with their liberal agenda. Should the United States play a leading role in absorbing Muslim refugees from Burma? Why would Obama overwhelm the nation with Muslim immigrants? There's only one answer: to further weaken the Christian majority who he hates down to his last strand of DNA. They will not work because they can't work. They don't speak the language. They'll never learn it. Many of them have multiple wives. It's part of their religion. They're unemployable. They'll be on welfare. They'll flood our schools with children who will require scarce educational resources to go for ESL, English as a second language. Then they'll force your daughter to take diversity training so she's not mad at them in the classroom. You want to talk about that? I'm going to talk about it. This is the Savage Nation. Now I'm going to give you a list of the things that I'm on. In order to fight the flu, here is what I'm on. The flu came on last night after that show. I did another show last night after the show. And I think see, my problem is I don't know my limits. I actually think that I'm unlimited in energy. I can do anything. This is a problem, to be honest with you. Many of us should know our limits at my age, but I don't know my limits. So I keep going like there's no tomorrow. Because a doctor friend, a cardiologist, who's a brilliant man, once said to me, never let an old person live in your body, which is one of the greatest adages I've ever heard. I see so many guys in their 50s saying, this hurts, and my back hurts, this. So in other words, they're already acting out the role of the old man, and they go downhill very rapidly. I'm one of these people who refuse to act out that role. So I go on the radio last night. I love the show on Jim Bohannon. I had tremendous energy. I felt good. I felt so good that after the show, I went out for a glass of red wine and some black olives and a piece of bread. That was my dinner. It was like a prison dinner, but I loved it. It was very Mediterranean. I said to myself, you know what, don't eat. Can't eat at this hour at 10 o'clock, 10:30. Glass of good Italian wine, red wine, some bread that they bake there, and some black olives. Had the wine, came home, went to sleep, woke up sick. Couldn't sleep all night. Post-nasal drip caused the strep throat. Then the legs hurt. Then the back hurts. Then the head hurts. So what did I do? Did I call the hospital? Did I call the doctors? I'll give you the Savage regimen for the flu and a head cold the minute I return right here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN. So now the maniac in the White House wants us to absorb Muslim refugees from Burma. The Buddhists in Burma know they're troublemakers. They don't want them there. That's why they're refugees. It's a primarily Buddhist nation. They've been at war with their Buddhist neighbors for a long time. And now we hear from Human Rights Watch that the Muslims are discriminated against. So we're going to resettle Rohingya in the United States of America because Obama wants to do what? Is he doing this because he wants to make America a better place or a different place? Is different necessarily better? To a liberal, they think different and diverse is better. They have not awakened to the damage they've done around the world. So I wake up sick. I told you that. I said, I don't know what to do. I'm going to go on the air no matter what. I mean, maybe if it doesn't get better by tomorrow, I won't. But so the first thing I did is I go to Old Doc Vitamin C. I use crystals, and I mean crystals. I don't mean pills. I use a flat teaspoonful, which is 4 grams in water. Okay, that was the first thing. Didn't really do very much immediately because it takes, at least a half a day of this to get on top of the virus. I then smashed down a lot of vitamin A in 15,000 IU capsules. I took about 5 of them. It's not high dose. 75,000 IU is nothing. The toxic dose is probably 200,000 in vitamin A. I don't recommend more than a certain minimal amount every day. But when I'm sick, I find vitamin A triggers a lot of immune reaction. Okay, what did I do next? I have a throat spray. It's a mixture of echinacea, golden seal, and propolis. That usually helps the back of the throat really tremendously. What did I do next? I drank an herbal tea, which is a tremendous mixture of licorice root, slippery elm, marshmallow root, wild cherry bark, and things like that. Herbs known to have been used in American and other folklores for treating sore throat. That helped. That soothed it. Then what did I do? I remembered my friend Henry, who's about 80.